Hello there, and welcome to Creatives in Conversation, a podcast series created by myself, visionary artist Roberto Topia. In this podcast, I'll be speaking with visionary illustrator and creator of Ruben Topia. Sometimes there's an artwork that you see that you just get completely absorbed in, and there's just so many things within this artwork that you just get lost into a totally different world. And when you're in that place, you don't want to come out of that place. And the artwork that I'm talking about is one of Ruben Topia's work. I think it's called Utopia. I don't know if you'll know off the top of your head, Ruben, but I'd love for you to be able to describe what it is that I'm talking about, or what it is that you create.
Yeah, so Utopia is literally, my father likes to collect the works that I do on his computer. He actually collects everything that he does in his life. All pictures are stored in maps, little folders. And these folders need to have a name. And once, like cubism, surrealism, you needed to have a name for the things I do. And it was like, maybe what I remember is the name was Utopia for this, or Utopiism, I don't know, something like this. And yeah, for the name that I use, I'm very much interested in like landscapes and places where people can gather, like in the real world and also in the visual world, because I like to add a lot of details, people doing things in there. I'm just a watcher. I'm just a person in life who watches what everybody is doing. I always wondered what is everybody doing? I have no clue. Maybe because I don't live in the city. I have always lived in the countryside. So I wasn't much around a lot of people. So I always wondered about this, and I just put them in my works. Like they're just living their lives, kind of. Maybe sometimes it's stress, maybe sometimes they remember the magic of life. And this changes over time, of course. But yeah, Utopia is just this kingdom, this growing kingdom, because I will make more works in my life, and then it's a series. They can go into this. Maybe this is not Utopia, this is just a painting that is by itself. I mean, nothing is by itself, everything is connected, but when you would frame it, there's illustration work, which is all this land that is growing. I mean, I put this land in a book called Inner Kingdom. And then this is like a book from end 2019, beginning 2020. So now there's already more visual stuff. And then I was like, maybe you should call it Outer Kingdom, but that's a bit, I don't know, that's a bit for the future. It's something for the future. It's also interesting to do something else. Actually, I was working on cards, on like tarot cards, not tarot cards. The normals, just game cards, kind of like this. So maybe something new, maybe not a book, maybe something else, maybe online. There's many ways to share it.
I think you're right in saying, there's so many different ways in the ways in which your work kind of manifests itself. You've kind of, like you've mentioned there about online, and then also the physical world and that kind of thing, and creating this ever-growing kingdom. You mentioned tarot, and then you quickly changed to games. And something that I've noticed looking through your work is that it's kind of got this element of very mystical kind of quality to it, but then quite futuristic as well. So it's not necessarily 100% nostalgic looking at the past, but it's kind of looking at the future a little bit.
Yeah, like doing art is like a personal development. Maybe everyone does a drawing once in a while. Maybe some people make one drawing in their life. I don't know. Of course, many artists, they want to have their own tarot card, or they already have. And actually, when I was in this bookstore, I got this Osho tarot cards, and they are different. It's just, but overall, when I was growing up, as I said about personal development, I mean, basically, you're like as a human, you're growing up, you're still a kid. As a kid, you want candy, maybe you want chips, you want something else, and then you're just chasing a thing. And then when you get older, you're like discovering new things, and then maybe meditation, maybe traveling to new places, maybe festivals, maybe drugs, maybe yeah, and then you get into these material, spiritual, yeah, how you call them? You get into that side, and then that is interesting because it's new, it's all new, and then eventually it's not new anymore, and you kind of filter what is for you and what is not. So in my drawings, there's many references, or sometimes, yeah, really in my own style of the high priestess, or of the mother, or of the fool, the one who goes on the journey. That's maybe the best example, because
Wow.
it's all journey.
So it sounds like what you said there, that that your work can sometimes show you parts of yourself at different stages. So, like in your own development, maybe you've picked up the sort of spiritual cultures, and the sort of visual stuff you see there, and then that's gone into your kingdom. Is that right? Is
Yeah,
that
that
what's
is
happening?
right. And something that I have been maybe thinking about lately is this thing that when I go, I meet people, and it can be an older man, an older person, or it can be a younger woman. I don't know, someone. And then they ask me, "What do you do?" And if you are an artist, which is broad, let's say you're a visual artist, which is still broad, then what do you say? Like in Netherlands, it's called kunstenaar, but if you say this, it's just very bad vibes, kind of, because kunstenaar is like, then you're somebody who doesn't make money, But yeah, when you're an artist, then you need to be a hippie, and you need to be a businessman if you want to live from this thing. But yeah, if if you don't have a team, you're alone, then you need to be both. I mean, sometimes you want to give it all away for free to people, and yeah, if you want to live from this, then that is not helpful. So you have to be both, and a hippie and a businessman. So when you're with new people and you say, I'm an artist, it is kind of, they don't know. They still don't know. They have to see it, what you're doing. So maybe I was getting into this psychedelic culture because of festivals. Uh, because there my art was really fitting well, and I sold at festivals like 2018, 17, 19. I was going to festivals, and then maybe in the art gallery there, and then normal festivals don't even have art galleries, so I really felt at home there, and I wanted to become a visionary artist, and but I'm not painting. I mean, I have painted this, so I'm able to paint, but I really prefer the pen. You know what they say about the pen, with literature, like the pen is mightier than the sword. So of course, with painting you have less control, and there's more lightning that you can do, which is very hard with drawing, which you need computer, for example, to edit the lightning into, which is also great because Van Gogh didn't have the opportunity to do this. So that is a great tool that you should use if you live in this age. And but I have more about this. Like when I was ending my art school, it was kind of like, yeah, how are we gonna live from? I've graduated in illustration in Rotterdam, Netherlands, in 2018. So at the end of my study, it was a thing to go to galleries, maybe look how you can expose yourself, kind of where you're fitting. So I went to this art gallery in the Jordan neighborhood in Amsterdam, and that was the only gallery I really wanted to be in. And so I was like showering before I went there, like being nice, looking good. I don't just, and then I had also my previous book that I had before this one, and they said, yeah, it's nice, but it's not art because it's illustration, because it's many things were also digital, and of course I make everything with hand and then I scan it, and then it was this mix sometimes of digital hand drawing thing, and they only had paintings or something, so that I was like, then I need to paint, I need to make paintings, like I have to be fitting in this kind of corner, and I have maybe for 1-2 years I was like, I need to be painting, I need to do paintings because then I'm able to fit in this gallery. But now I'm realizing like I don't need to be in that gallery. Maybe in the future I will have some paintings that can go in there, or anything else, maybe a video, I don't know. But I was really like, I was listening to them, and whatever, I don't need to listen to them, I can just make my own stuff. So yeah, that's something that was maybe shocking, but you always should listen to yourself, not to these other people. Like, that's one gallery, like how many are there in the world? You can just set it somewhere else, like and it's also quite old-fashioned that they, maybe 2 years ago was still a thing. And of course, yeah, it's nice to have a physical object. It's way, if you print it out, then it's just soulless. There's no soul in it. There's less soul in a print because you haven't touched it. So I understand this, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think you've sort of hit something around the head in terms of like how even in the arts, which are it's quite a creative industry, there's still sort of categories that people are put into. So like if you do a degree into illustration as opposed to fine art, then then are you being categorized as that and then being sort of excluded from the gallery when I've seen some of the images on your website and on online, and I can see that you sat in front of a huge sheet of paper doing this huge intricate landscape drawing, and I'm just thinking this is amazing. He's completely diving into this world. So it's like, yeah, I've never quite understood those barriers, those sort of categorization of this person is this and this person isn't that, because it's like as long as it's an art form, it's strange that it's strange. But I found it interesting what you're saying about how if it's digital and you print it out, then it feels like it has no soul. And then you're talking about the drawing, because the drawing's like a very, like it's down to the basics, isn't it? It's putting mark on service, and there's something quite, yeah, you're putting yourself into it a lot more, aren't you, than if you're doing something digital, whether you have to kind of deal with this screen.
Yeah, it's like one of the oldest forms of expressing for humans. I mean, the cave art was illustration. It was just stick figures, or it was shamanistic art, actually. I mean, it wasn't just nice things. It was just shamanistic arts for their tribe to, look after how they should hunt things from the other side. From that the shaman brought back. For the workers, her people who gathered the food. I wasn't there in this lifetime, so I haven't visited those places. So
no, those are worlds that would probably never fully understand.
I only know that's the first expression of the humans that we are now. Like when I was little, my first memory is that I had stole my mother's lipstick and then draw on the wallpaper, and she didn't like it.
Yeah, it goes deep, doesn't it? It's you didn't necessarily need to see someone doing that. You've just done it, which is amazing, really, when you think about it. Yeah. So you've kind of said a little bit about like the sort of psychedelic community and how. So was that your starting point then, Ruben? Is that like in terms of you being outside of art school and engaging with the world? Was that one of the first communities you engaged with, or did that come about later on, or earlier on even?
No, it's more like technically I'm diagnosed with ADD. Technically, but I only did this test when I was older, like 18s. So it actually just means that you're just very chaotic in your head. You think a lot. And this needs to go somewhere.
So
This
for someone who,
thinking.
sorry, just for someone who doesn't know what ADD means.
Oh, ADD is like ADHD, when someone is really busy, chaotic, although extroverted. And ADHD, I don't know if I say it right. ADD is like the same thing, but then it's inner, within. And the chaos is within.
Okay.
It's a common thing, actually. And many people have this. Maybe I have. It's a common thing. So this needs to go somewhere, these chaos that is in your head. And yeah, when I was a kid, my parents divorced when I was younger. And I lived in the city as a baby. So when I was 3 years old, I got to live in the countryside. And the people in my village, I didn't fit there. I just didn't fit there. All those asleep people, if I have to say it rude, just asleep people. They are just conditioned by their parents to listen to the teacher and to stay in the village and to marry with someone and then to buy a house and have a dog and have 2 kids. This life, and yeah. As a child, I didn't really fit in there. So didn't have much friends. I was just quiet. I wasn't bullied or something, but I was just quiet. And then, yeah, my mother was working, so I was alone most of the time. I have no siblings. And yeah, that's why I was alone most of the time. And that's something that people need to learn, to be by themselves. And mostly if you're bored now in this time, you just check your phone, like whoever can sit for 5 minutes and does without doing anything. How often does it happen? Almost nobody sits for 5 minutes without doing anything. And you're just doing stuff, or you check your phone, or you check anything online, your social media. So yeah, of course, as a child, I'm 28 now, but it wasn't there. But I was just by myself, and then yeah, this needed to go somewhere. All these thoughts, and I wasn't really verbally mature. I couldn't really speak very well. I couldn't explain what was going on. Also, when you're a kid and your parents divorce, it is weird. Even though I was 3 years old, so I didn't consciously. I experienced this in a different way than when you're 16 and this happens. But it's still something that was changing my life, because then, yeah, I was in this family house, and then I got to another house which was totally different. There was space all around and different people, and my grandmother also. I actually live there now as well, but right now I'm building a studio outside in the forest, but that's soon.
Wow. Building a studio in the forest.
Yeah, a wooden studio. In this country right now, maybe in every country, there's protests. Many people go on the streets and they protest because the prices of the houses are too high, and they want prices to go down. But yeah, they say they are being bullied out of their cities, kind of, because the rent is too high and stuff. Yeah, but they don't understand that it's because money is getting less worth. You can buy less with your money, kind of. That's the thing, because they print money. They just print it. So the houses are still the same bricks. It's just the money that is worth less, and a lot of demand. So, but instead of protesting and saying I am a victim of this world. Yeah, of course, not everybody has land, but yeah, you can maybe live in a tiny house or live in a van, or that's kind of not nice to say. I mean, but anyway, just try to look for different solutions, kind of, and maybe more community vibe. I mean, do you need a house for yourself with 7 rooms or 5 rooms? I don't know. Like, so yeah, maybe it's easy for me in my position, but this having a studio in the forest is something that I wanted for quite long, or something different. Because personally, I don't need to live in the city, so I understand if different people really want to live in the city and don't want to live in the countryside. That's just preference, and yeah. So sometimes it's really easy for me to say things, but yeah, if you want something in life, then you can work towards it. And maybe it can take years, but still you can work towards it. And many people would say, "Oh, it's not possible," or yeah, then you don't believe in it yet. And everything's possible. It can take years. Like I can grow a lot in art, for example, or as a human being, and still I'm already doing this for 10 years, and yeah,
Wow.
a
So
few. Yeah.
it sounds like
Maybe this is a lot of topics together,
no,
but yeah.
yeah. Well, I think it all kind of interconnects within your mind, and it's good to kind of hear, obviously, your thought process of what's happened in your past and then how that interlinks with what's happening even today. So you're kind of thinking on the micro level, which is your own internal world, to the the other level, the layer beyond it, which is your own family, and then your whole political and cultural and societal level, and even global level. Um,
Hmm.
I think it's interesting that you started mentioning about the value of money and how you specifically talked about house prices in the Netherlands, and this is something that's happened across the board. I feel like there's conversations about new ways of living all the time. I don't know whether the idea of living differently in different homes, like tiny houses or in the woods, are just becoming more and more popular. But I'm very interested in this idea of currency and the value of things, because I know that you've started doing something which I've never talked about on the podcast before, which was NFTs. Um, so you've kind of come into this world now, haven't you?
Yeah, kind of, but it's a whole world on its own, which is very abstract. It's kind of taking form, I guess. I mean, NFTs can be anything. It doesn't need to be art. It's just what it was in the news last month. But it can be music, it can be 3D art, it can be a song, a movie, a concert, uh, products, a car. I mean, when in the future there will be cars, autonomous driving. So let's say they're owned by nobody in particular, nobody. So imagine an NFT can be, you have this car, a taxi, an Uber, and it's autonomous driving. And it drives by itself. So let's say this is NFT, and like 100 people can buy a share. They can own a car. 100 people can own the same car, or 50 people, or 20 people, or 10 people. So then they buy this NFT, and they can, if you don't want it anymore, you sell the NFT to someone else. And then, yeah, this is maybe futuristic. Then you own this car. Maybe it is too difficult
I
for me
think
to
I
speak
think
about this,
it.
but
I think you.
that's
Yeah,
just.
yeah. I think you're trying to describe something which is quite challenging to describe. Anyway,
Let's
it's
keep it simple. Like NFTs for now is it's basically art and music and digital art, because yeah, it's a new thing for many people. Like cryptocurrency is also a new thing for many people, even though it's around for 12 years. For me, it's only around for like maybe a year now. Um, yeah, and a lot of digital artists didn't get paid, or didn't get well paid in the last years, and now they are able to, not say that it happens, but they're able to, yeah, put their work out, because yeah, it probably happens to many artists that they get an email client saying like, hey, can you do this and this, and we have a budget. It's like €100 for a video which takes weeks to create. I guess many digital artists know this underpaid things, and yeah, then they can sell their personal works as an NFT on different platforms, and which the buyers of this, yeah, I imagine like if you bought Ethereum, for example, in 2017 for like, what was it, $20 or something, $100. Now it's like 3,000 for this. So if you would kept a few of these, then it's easier to support artists or that you like. Because, but if you have to pay 5,000, 10,000, I don't know how much they go, then it's difficult. But also these NFTs can raise in value over time. You can just see it, it's a non-fungible token, so you can see it as an object of value that is increasing over time, especially with these collectibles that you see, like the Bored Ape Club or these things. For myself, yeah, I have my series of illustration work on some different platforms, and I guess it works the best if you market it well as well, which I don't do all the time. It's just out there kind of. But yeah, you can have accounts and then say, I released this collectible on this and this date, and these are rare, and these are legendary, and these are normal, common, and so you create like different value of this.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, this is something that's been happening within the art world anyway. But what I find really interesting about the NFTs, which is, you know, the way that I understand it is that it's you create a digital artwork of some kind, and you can post it online, and but with that there's something attached to it, so that if you sell the artwork on, you obviously get some cryptocurrency, some, you know, digital money, as it were, and whenever somebody would sell that on again, you get like a percentage of what they make, and it's almost all automated. So it's kind of like it's really amazing that this stuff's happening, because for such a long time the artist has been the one at the end of the line who would be very lucky to get a cut, you know, 10 times after their artwork's been sold. But this system seems to be able to make sure that artists get what they deserve in the end, you know, get you know, the copyright means something, the creator means something still.
Yeah, artists have the possibility to become very rich now, like more rich than any other job actually.
Yeah, and it's like this sort of spinning of the
But
table, isn't it?
of course, you can also do this with a web shop, maybe with Shopify, with selling prints on shirts, and this you can also do that as well. It's probably not going to be as much as as you see some NFTs go, like from people, which are millions. But also in his case, this Beeple case, he is putting out an image each day for 13 years straight. So imagine how much time it is. Every day, 10 hours of working, let's say 10 hours. So it's like 3,500 hours a year times 13. Yeah, there's thousands of hours of work, free work that he doesn't get paid for. So now he sold this work as NFT. So all this time comes back, kind of like. So it's saying it is valuable. You're not doing this. It's also a thing. It's also a thing when I make something, and then I store it somewhere, and maybe literally 2-3 years after that I make. Yeah, you can just sell a painting 3 years after you make it. Like many of the things that I do is from a personal drive. I mean, in school, teacher says you have to make this. You have to do this. You have to create this. Or if a client tells you to do something, but it works best if it's in my own style. So, and then of course you don't get paid to create something, but then you can just. Sometimes it takes weeks to sell something, months, or maybe after a year you meet someone. He's like, I want this, and then you're like, I have something like this, and then.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, isn't it interesting, Ruben, that we're having this conversation about art and such, and you're talking about how I guess the work that you make is, you know, really personal, it's your kind of own world, and you kind of making it visual for everybody to see. And then how quickly sort of the world that we're living in, the culture that we're living, really the whole world seems to be run on this idea of, money is success, and money is the only way you're going to survive on this planet. And now the thing that you do that you just want to do, you're going to have to try and find a way of monetizing that and making it, profitable in some way, or making it so that you can live off it. And it's there's a sad element to that, because, if time is money, then you got to make sure that everything that you do in that time is really good. And well, I say really good, actually, but that's probably the wrong word to say, because if time is money, and you're trying to use your time to make money, then what you're doing in that time, like, are you just trying to, is it just like a focus on making money? So is every line like, this line better be so good that it'll make me money? It's
Mm-mm.
a part of me thinks it's a bit of a shame that, yourself being an artist, and myself being an artist, and so many other artists are kind of being forced into this situation where we have to think like this. When, if the situation was different, where you didn't need money was not an issue, what would you really be creating? And it'd be interesting to see what that would look like, not just for yourself, for all artists, really.
Yeah, for me it would be the same. Maybe I would do something different, but as I said, in the long run, I would like to create stained glass and jewelry. I don't need to be the person who does it. It can also be someone else making my designs in this. But my house is full of crystals, and it's not full of stained glass. But yeah, over the long time, I would like to learn these skills, and or at least work with people who do that, and then work together, because that's also nice. You don't need to do everything yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a power in working collectively, isn't there, as an artist? And, for a lot of
Mm.
artists, they struggle to do that, don't they? Because artists are so used to working on their own and being in control of what they make, that then to then work with somebody else can be a bit of a challenge. But it's definitely an exciting thing to do, because you get that sort of back and forth, don't you?
Yeah, but this thing about money, I mean, yeah, it is a topic on its own, by the way, of course. But yeah, actually, I was just getting interested in the concept of money, where it's coming from. Yeah, because of Bitcoin, actually, because of like maybe a year ago, I got this fine, and I was like, oh, I need to pay so much €1,000, which was not a right fine. And then somebody mentioned like, oh, you should just get into crypto, and then I was like, okay, what is this? And I kind of learned about what Bitcoin was, and it's like, oh, this is a thing. Then I learned about what money really is, which is like a shock to me, kind of. Yeah, that it is kind of debt, and that they just print it, so it's kind of worthless. So actually, working your time is way more valuable than money. Just going to the forest, going to a nice place. Okay, maybe you need to go drive with a car. Yes, then you need money. Yeah, or you need a lot of gas. But anyway, just spending your time, living your life, being free. Yeah, it's more valuable than the money itself. They print it, so it's nothing. But yeah, I have also some questions about this. I mean, the future of money will look very different than it is now. But I don't think many people realize this yet. They think, we'll just continue. Yeah, prices cannot go up forever. Like, there will be a central digital currency, a cryptocurrency, but then centralized. That's what everybody is talking about online, what I'm hearing. Or like an energy coin, because you can use a certain amount of energy, and then if you don't use it, will be gone. So you have an incentive to use your energy each month. And everybody is kind of equal. They have the same amount of energy. So you can go on holiday only once a year. You can travel this amount of miles because of the energy coins. But I'm not sure where it's gonna go. And then I'm also thinking, like, wondering, like, is Bitcoin like next to this? Is this gonna stay as well if there is no euro anymore? But that's just a whole rabbit hole that you can dive into. Maybe not with me. I'm not so advanced with this. But
you're definitely right. It is a rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's it's something that I'm probably in the same sort of category as yourself, and in how new cryptocurrency really is, and even this whole NFT thing, because it's all quite new, really.
But I have one thing that I found important. That's what I was thinking about very, very much. And last time I saw a meme or something, and I was like, yeah, this is it. I mean, when I have €0, I will be making art. When I have €10, I'm also making art. And when I have 1 million, I'm also making art. It's the same. I mean, you mentioned, like, if you don't need to worry about this thing, what will you create? Yeah, the same thing. Maybe I'll use. Yeah, I'm also already. I have 2 hands. I cannot do more than I do, of course. So, I mean, there's also more things in life that need attention. So I cannot produce a book a day, of course. Yeah, so it's the same thing. And yeah, I have lived with maybe €100 in 1 month, and I've also lived with way more than that. So, and I'm still here. I was also happy with less. And today I heard that, imagine you're in the desert, and then certainly there's a stand, and there's somebody sells, there's water you can drink. Then this first glass is amazing. And then, another one, it's also good. And then another one, and you're like, I'm full now. And then the fourth one, you're like, maybe you're getting sick of it. You're like, I don't want this. And that's with everything in life, kind of. So when you're really poor, you're desiring these things that you cannot do. You want to go to a fancy restaurant. And then when you have the money, you go to a fancy restaurant. And then you go again, and then you go again, and then you go again. And then you're like, it's normal, it's boring. And you want something else. So it's just a whole matrix, what we're into, that we're all in. And we're all chasing the things that we cannot do. But when we can do them, when we have experienced everything, what will we do then?
Yeah.
Then it is like sharing. Then you need to share. Because now it's kind of egoistic. Like, I want this, I want this, I want this. And when you have done everything, it should be like, maybe share to what other people who haven't experienced these things, and then have joy from this.
Yeah, and I feel like you've kind of perfectly encapsulated the sort of the hungry ghosts situation of everybody's got ginormous stomachs but tiny mouths, and they can't fit in everything that they want to eat. The mouth is too small for them to eat, but they want to keep trying to shove it in there. I thought you might appreciate that with I guess I can just tell when I'm looking at your work. I can tell you've got influences from sort of different sort of Oriental histories. You've got religious stuff. You've got spiritual stuff. You've got
Arabian Nights.
There we are. That's it. Yeah, and sacred geometry and that kind of thing. You see it all interlaced in there.
I'm a Dutch person, and when I was little, I had Moroccan friends. I had a Chinese friend, and when I was in art school, I did an exchange in Korea. So I lived in Korea, South Korea, for some months to study animation. Then I was traveling to Japan, and I'm very much interested in Spanish, Moroccan, Moorish architecture, Tatarian civilization. I mean, it's all over. Like, it's also because I'm just from this village, and in this village is nothing. I mean, there's a church, but there's not much culture. So then when I saw it, something out there in the world, I was like, wow. And then the next thing, and then it should be combined into one universal utopian dystopian city, country, nation. Maybe not nation. Nation without borders. Yeah, just combine them.
I feel like that's what's happening in your mind, Ruben. I feel like it's all combining in your mind anyway. Um, I'm really interested in this idea of you feeling like a bit of an outsider where you were growing up.
Yeah, no, not anymore.
You don't feel like an outsider anymore, do you not?
No, because I really accept myself. I really love myself. I'm just amazing. Not as a, yeah, it sounds maybe egoistic, but I didn't love myself before. I was like, last year I thought I loved myself, but I wasn't. So it's getting
Yeah.
in a wave, in a wave, kind of, you know. Of course, there's days where you're like, yeah, this day is kind of common, it's normal, but on average, this is just good. It's getting better. My life is just getting better.
How much does meditation play a part in your life? Because I know you've mentioned about breathing. I've seen one of your talks where you've interjected with now breathe.
Yes. So when I was 21, I was eating meat, and I was maybe just a lot of thinking, stress, and then I was in school. I was just lying on the floor, and I was like, I don't want to do anything anymore. When I was younger, I was gothic. I was into metal. I was angry with the world. I was seeing myself as a victim, something like this, because of all these things in my youth, like being outsider, kind of like didn't felt accepted. Like this created this gothic me, black clothing, yeah, angry music, and also in food. Yeah, I was eating a lot of, yeah, just everything, meat, and then I was like, maybe I had a lot of fear, and I was like, I want to change this, and then I also changed my diet. I just became, I wouldn't say I became a vegan, but I just didn't eat meat anymore, and that helped. And also I went to a Zen school, a Zen meditation school. And of course, I'm not a Japanese monk, but once a week doing this with people, just being in silence, it helps because when you do it with a group of people, there's a different energy, and also they have their own empty room, and at home you don't have your own empty room, because when you're sitting down at home, you're probably after a few minutes you're thinking and you're picking stuff up. So I did this, and that helped. And right now I'm not doing sitting meditation, maybe sometimes, but I don't need to do this. You don't need to do it. You can just go to nature sometimes. If there's a nice park, forest is better to go to outside of city, then go there. And just meditation by itself, what is this? I mean, drawing can be a meditation, and when you're in this flow, this is golden. If you're in this flow, then you're a millionaire, like not materially but spiritually.
Yeah, I'd have to just interject there and say I completely agree with you. I'd read this thing, Joseph Campbell, about finding your bliss. I'm sure you've heard of this as well, and I can totally relate to this space where you're completely absorbed in your drawing and you're in your own little world, and it's the perfect place you could be. It doesn't matter how much money's in your bank account, doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what's going on around you. When you're in that space, it's golden.
It's also, I was reading Murakami a few years ago, and he has one book, and it's called Run. Yeah, something about running. Anyway, it's a book. Sorry, it's a different book. And yeah, there he says that he couldn't write his books without running, without being a marathon runner. So it's running and writing, two different things, you would say, but for him it's related because that running is a meditation. I mean, you clear your mind when you run or do sports, and you need this when you're creator in any form. And you can also do running and then maybe cold shower, sit down, breathing exercises. They all amplify each other. So
yeah, it sounds like it's all interlinked for you.
It is. It's interlinked. Like Osho would say, like Osho had this dynamic meditation. You don't need to agree with him or what he did, but he had this dynamic meditation, which is a form of dancing and screaming and then being quiet. This first releasing all this conditioning that you have, and then being quiet, and then just go on with your day. For meditation, you shouldn't go to the mountains. You should be in the world. You should be in the marketplace, and not somewhere else. Because in the marketplace is where you learn, and then you integrate this into the normal world, into the Times Square, into the New York matrix. And it's time to end this matrix. This matrix is just, who wants to be in this? Nobody, or some people do, but they sure will want to be free when they realize that it's a prison that they're in.
Well, this totally leads me right into the question I wanted to ask you, which, you might have already answered it with what you've said anyway. If there was one thing that you could change about the world, Ruben, what would it be?
Nothing.
Boom.
I mean, there's a lot of unnecessary suffering, and I cannot change anything. Like, I can't go to people's house and say, stop watching television. Would they do it? No. They would just watch television until they are sick of it themselves. I mean, maybe they still watch that low vibrational stuff. I don't care, but I mean, you have to go through these things yourself, and I can say like, oh, I want a world of light and love. I'm not saying this. If I would imagine this, a world of light and love, then what happens? And maybe it gets boring after a while and people start fighting. And this is a world of, darkness sometimes, very challenging times, and also great times of connection, of singing, of family, of love. And there's like a lot of darkness, and then eventually there's one light somewhere, and that light is just sacred magic. And imagine there's just light everywhere. There is a place where there's only light. How boring is it to be there forever? You're human here to experience different things and to go through these challenging times, and to learn from this, become stronger. And if you're just in love and light, then you are the Godhead, the Akasha, the God, Allah. I know how you energy.
Ruben, we didn't talk before this podcast, and looking at your work, I just knew you'd have some kind of deep perspective, deep philosophical, mystical perspective, and I could just sort of sense from the stuff that you were drawing, you've got so many mixes of culture, different time periods. It just felt like you've definitely absorbed a lot of different ideas, and you kind of pull them all together in this world. What I'm really curious to know is what is challenging you at the moment in your own practice, and what is blossoming within your own practice?
It's a very hard question. I was actually thinking about something else that I wanted to mention, but maybe I should avoid your question.
You could completely avoid my question if you want. That's completely your move to make.
Well, whoever you are, like if you're a singer, painter, artist, then people assume that you want to make nice, it's a thing that you want to create nice things, beautiful works. But that's not the main goal. It's not the goal to create beautiful things. Then I can have a canvas painted gold. Maybe that's beautiful. It's more a thing. I consider this creating as a psychology, as a yeah, a personal trip. Yeah, shit. How can I say this? Hmm. I shouldn't think about it. I should just say it, of course.
I think you said it there. It's a trip, and I completely agree with you. I think there's times with my own practice that I've noticed that something that I've created in that moment, I've had no idea what's going on, and until you look back in retrospect, you look at it, again, and you go, actually, that was saying something to me, but I didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah, the goal is not to make beautiful things. The goal is to make something that is invisible in the physical world, and so people can see like, oh, the world is not as I thought it is. It's way more magical than I thought it was, or it's it's something else. And just discovering your the things that are hidden in our own unconscious, things that I make, and discovering the things that are in the society collective unconscious. So maybe when other people see it, this is a higher goal that they can like recognize themselves into this. And I did ayahuasca last month, and then there's challenging times with this ayahuasca, and there's also godly realms where you enter. And when I entered these godly realms, I was like, immediately I felt like this is normal. I know this. This is just. I was like, this is a place that I've known forever. I know this place, even though I have never seen it. And I was like, oh, this is never going away. This place. And of course, now it's when I close my eyes, it's not visible. I just know it's there, kind of. I know this magic is out there. Yeah, and when you're stuck in this matrix, then you don't see this magic. Maybe you don't even know it. Television is not going to show you magic. It's just going to show you another show. And what you said, what is challenging in the moment is like, maybe it's time. I mean, I could say, I have enough things. I've made enough things, but I'm okay actually. I'm more than okay.
Well, that's a great place to be as an artist. That's a really great place to be because there's a lot of artists who do struggle.
I also don't believe in an artist blockage or something, or this thing called inspiration. Inspiration, being in spirit. If you don't have inspiration, then you should go outside and find yourself, because you are inspiration. Like the word itself means in spirit. So you are a spirit living a human life. At least that's how I see it. Maybe other people don't see it in this sense.
I could definitely see that as a quote on somebody's wall.
I mean, there's physical aspect of life, spiritual aspect, and maybe another one. It should be a triangle, or
physical, spiritual. I don't know, psychological. I don't know. Maybe that's something you could close that shape, the triangle shape.
Yes.
So we're kind of fast approaching the end. I'm wondering, Ruben, if you'd be able to share your contact details. Well, not necessarily your personal contact, but maybe your website and social media, or even OpenSea, because I know you're on OpenSea as well.
Oh, no, I'm not on OpenSea. I'm on Foundation.
Foundation, that's it. This is my knowledge. Yeah, trying to get used to all the different NFT websites.
Okay, in the NFT space right now, I'm on Foundation and Kusama Singular, which is the Kusama blockchain. And in the future, I'm also on different platforms, but that will be on my social media, on maybe Instagram, Ruben Topia, and I have a website, myname.com. And I don't have Facebook. Don't like that. It's too much. I mean, I also have TikTok. I don't know, but I was just trying this out. I mean, but it's too. Just to. I have some animations, so I thought I can just share them. And sometimes people, the right people see it, and sometimes I think people just scroll to it because I'm also bored when I'm on Instagram sometimes. But it's magical things to discover there. The and in the NFT space as well. I've seen some, I've discovered some artists that I was like, this is, it's amazing. Like, the internet is just, you get really sucked into this rabbit hole of internet sometimes, and then, like, as a virgin astrology sign, I'm also somebody who is really inside. Sometimes when I'm inside for some time, I mean, there's a window there, and there's a lot of garden and greenery out there. I'm like, there's also a place I can go to. Getting out of this rabbit hole and outside. Yeah. That's why my book is called Inner Kingdom. It's an infinite inner world, and there's also an almost infinite outer world out there when you consider space to be part of it.
Yeah. The it goes as deep inwards as it does outwards, isn't it? And I think your book and your worlds that you've created perfectly illustrate that. What
I have a challenge. I have something that I find challenging. There's all this social media and there's these things, but the social media is very restricting in how you present yourself. I mean, Instagram is just square, square, square. Okay, maybe you can have a video, which is then a screen phone size. But when people follow maybe some famous celebrities and they follow me, they follow you, and it's all squares, it's all same boxes. I guess there should be like there's an algorithm that filters what you like. So it's not that personal. Sometimes it's hard to be personal through the screen, through the medium. So I'm drinking pure cranberry sop juice, so that is really strong.
That's stuff lethal. Yeah, that's stuff lethal. I mean, if someone's listening to our podcast or somebody's watching the video and they're seeing yourself, you become your environment on the screen, but we are always limited to that box shape that the people are looking in, aren't they? So
I was thinking, why is there somewhere like a round computer that I can buy, a round screen? Well, that's
is there some kind of screen that could potentially, the edges disappear and like whatever you're looking at on the screen seems to merge with your entire environment. So
but
nothing becomes separate.
Of course, I also create some things that are made for social media. Square it's also a nice shape. I mean, you can round it and you have like a ruit. I mean, this is also rectangular. But I have, with the saw, I cut out some paintings that have different shapes. So that is also a nice thing to do. Mandala shapes, paintings.
Definitely. There should be more experimentation with the way images are presented, for sure. Ruben, we could talk forever. I'm sure we could, and
this thing.
That's your little it's like a star, but it's also like a flower, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a sun and a flower. It's a golden seed, just from the Secret of the Golden Flower. This book. Right. Now, every human, it's also in my book, this text in the beginning, like every human is a seed, it's a golden seed. It doesn't mean that you will be like the individuation process, or what Jung says. Doesn't mean that you become fully flowering in your life, but you are a seed, but you need the right amount of water, sun, light, and go through darkness sometimes.
I think that's a great place for us to come to a close, Ruben. Absolutely amazing. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Ruben.
Thank you.
Let's keep in touch.
Sure.
Take care. Thank you, Ruben. Thank you.